Hello viewers, this is Dr. Hassanat. Welcome to my today's lecture. Today I will talk about the chest lead and the morphology of the QRS complex and the calculation of the heart rate. So let's see. Actually, there are 6 unipolar chest leads, and chest leads or precordial leads lie in the transverse plane. There are 6 precordial leads that are used routinely, and these are V1 to V6. And these leads employ an exploring electrode on the chest surface. And the reference or the indifferent electrode is connected to the right arm, and the left leg through the high resistance, which is called Wilson terminal, that is maintained at zero potential. Here you can see the position of the different chest electrode and or the exploring electrode. Okay. Now the V1 is placed in the right fourth intercostal space at the right border of the sternum. So here is the position of the V1. Okay. Now V2. V2 is placed in the left fourth intercostal space at the left border of the sternum. So this is the position of the V2. The next lead is placed, it is V4 in the left fifth intercostal space on the mid clavicular line. So here is the position of the V4. And V3 is placed in between the V2 and V4. So this is the position of the V3. The next electrode is placed, that is V5. It is placed in the left fifth intercostal space on the anterior axillary line. So this is the position of the V5. And the last or sixth one, that is V6, that is placed in the left fifth intercostal space on the mid axillary line. So this is the mid axillary line. Okay. Now I have already told you this unipolar chest leads records the electrical activity of the heart along the horizontal plane or transverse plane. So, or anterior posteriorly. Whereas the limb leads, that is lead 1, 2, 3 and AVR, AVL and AVF, they record the electrical activity of the heart along the frontal plane. Now, here you can see the position of the different electrode we have already placed on the surface of the chest, and this is the position of the heart, and this is the center of the chest that acts as a reference electrode or Wilson terminal, and these are the positive electrodes or exploring electrode that are placed on the surface of the chest. Now, during ventricular depolarization starts with the septal depolarization, and septal depolarizations occur from left side to right side. So this time this septal depolarizing vector, that is moving towards the V1 leads and moving away from the V6. Then the major ventricular depolarization, which actually moves from right to the left. Okay, so that is the cardiac axis, and that this depolarizing vector during major part of the ventricular depolarization, it is moving towards the left or moving away from the V1 and V2, and they are moving towards the V5 and V6. Okay, so from this view, you can see clearly that V1 and V2, these two leads are called septal leads, and V3, V4, they cover the anterior surface of the heart, and V5 and V6, they actually record the electrical activity the lateral surface. Now, here I'm going to show you the real picture. So this is the heart, and depolarization starts at the septum from left to right, and this is the vector produced by septal activation, and this vector is actually moving towards the V1 lead, and then the major ventricular depolarizations, and that is actually moves from right side to the left side. Okay, so this is the vector produced by major ventricular depolarization, and it is pointed towards the V5 and V6, and this vector is moving away from the V1 and V2 leads. Okay, so now from the position of the V1, it records that during the septal activation, the depolarizing vector is coming towards the V1. So there will be a little positive or upward deflection produced in the V1 lead, and this upward deflection, this first upward deflection in the QRS complex, this is called R wave. As it is a small wave, so it is expressed in a small letter R. Okay. Then when the major part of the ventricular depolarization occur, the vector that is produced by the depolarization of the major part of the ventricle, that is actually moving away from the V1 and V2 leads. So what will happen? As this depolarizing vector is moving away from the V1 lead, it will record a negative deflection in the ECG wave, and any negative deflection after the R wave, that is called S wave, and this is as it is a very big or deep S wave, so it is expressed in capital S. So the recording of the QRS complex in the V1 lead, this is called RS pattern. Small r and the capital S, this is the RS pattern. So now, how the V1, V6 that record the same electrical activity from the position of the V6, it is observed that the septal depolarizing vector that is actually moving away from the V6, but as the septal muscle mass is less, so there will be very small or short negative deflection, that is actually small Q wave is produced, and then followed by major ventricular depolarization, which is directed towards the V6. So that will produce a big R wave in the ECG tracing or in the V6 lead. Okay, so it is this tall R wave is expressed in capital letter R. So this pattern of QRS is called QR pattern, the small q and the capital R. So that is completely reversed than the recording of the V1. In the V1 where the R wave is very short or minimum, but S wave is the maximum. But in the V6, the R wave is the maximum, but S wave is almost absent there or very minimum. Okay, so this is the picture recorded in the V1 and V6 during the ventricular depolarization. Now, what will happen to the V3 and V4? Actually, the position of the V3 and V4, from this position, they will record the electrical activity in such a way that initially it has been seen that the depolarizing vector is coming toward them. Okay, so that is why initially it will produce a upward deflection, the first upward deflection in the QRS complex, and that is the R wave. But when this depolarizing vector pass away and moving away from them, and they are moving towards the V6, then it will produce again a negative deflection. So that is actually called S wave. So this pattern that is recorded in the V3, it is called RS pattern. Okay, because this position is actually midway position. Initially, it has been seen that the vector is coming toward them, but in the later half of the this pathway, it has been seen that the vector is moving away. So there will be a equal degree of positive and negative deflection produced in the V3 lead. So this is also called the transitional lead. Okay, this is this is called RS pattern or biphasic deflection. Now the V4, actually in the V4, the R wave is little bigger than the V3 and then followed by S wave. Okay, so if you see clearly, you can observe that as the depolarizing vectors is moving from right to left, the voltage of the R wave from V1 to V6, it will increases. But the depth of the S wave, it will decreases. Okay, so first to lead V1, V2, in the V1 and V2, the R wave is, the size of the R wave is smaller than the S wave. But if you see the V5 and V6, the height of the R wave is larger than the S wave. Another important point I want to mention that the maximum voltage that is recorded, it is in the V5, not in the V6, because there is an obstacle in between the V6 and the depolarizing vector. That is actually the in between, there is a lung tissues. So that is why this voltage is interrupted here, but that is why the V5 will record the maximum voltage. Okay. So that is the normal progression. Here you can see that is the normal progression of the R wave as the cardiac vector is moving from right to leftward. Gradually the height of the R wave, it will increases. So this is called normal R wave progression. So here you can see more clearly. Okay. Gradually the height of the R wave increases, but the depth of the S wave decreases. Okay, and in the V3 and V4, there is almost equal size of the R wave and S wave. This is almost equal. That is why they are actually, this is the transitional zone. Okay, so I have already explained it. Here I have mentioned the R wave increases in the height from lead V1 to V5. And the R wave is smaller than the S wave in the lead V1 and V2. I have already told you. And then the R wave is bigger than the S wave in the lead V5 and V6. Here you can see clearly. And the tallest R wave does not exceed 25 millimeter in height in the normal condition. And the deepest S wave does not exceed 25 millimeter in depth. Okay, so that is the very normal picture of the R wave progressions. Now, the view of the heart and the reciprocal lead. View, actually lead 1, here you can see this is lead 1, AVL and V5 and V6. They represent the lateral surface of the heart, or basically they are recording the electrical activity of the lateral surface of the heart, left lateral surface. Okay, and lead 2, lead 3 and AVF, they record the electrical activity of the inferior surface of the heart. And V1, V2 lead, I have already told you, they are actually septal lead. They record the electrical activity septal, mainly septal depolarizations. And the V3 and V4, they represent the anterior surface of the heart. So this is the different view of the heart. We can record in the different electrode from different angle. And now another thing I want to mention, that you know the lateral surface, is represented by lateral surface lead. They are actually lead 1, AVL, V5 and V6. Okay, so the reciprocal lead of the lateral surface is actually the inferior surface lead, that is lead 2, lead 3 and AVF. These leads are reciprocal to the lateral surface. Okay, once again the anterolateral surface lead 1, AVL and V3 to V6. Okay, their reciprocal leads are also the lead 2, lead 3 and AVF. Okay, sometimes if you find a ST elevation in the contiguous lead, so you will find a ST depression in the reciprocal lead. Okay, so if the inferior surface lead, you know, 2, 3 and AVF, so reciprocal of the inferior leads is the lead 1 and AVL, that is the lateral surface lead. Is it clear? So it is the idea about reciprocal lead. Now, the nomenclature of the QRS complex. Nomenclature actually depends on the direction of the wave. It is upward or downward deflection, and the position of the wave in the complex and the amplitude of the deflection. Okay. So here you can see the first negative deflection in the QRS complex. Okay. So it is the downward deflection. So any negative deflection, first negative deflection in the QRS complex, it should be Q wave, and then the first positive deflection in the QRS complex, it should be R, and any negative deflection following R wave, that will be called S wave. Okay. Another point we should keep in mind, that is the J point is very important. J point, it is the termination of the S wave. Okay. So this point is called J point, and from the J point to the onset of the T wave, this is called ST segment, and that is actually isoelectric line. And another point we should keep in mind, as it is very important, that is TP segment. It is the termination of the T wave to the onset of the P wave. This is called TP segment. TP segment actually represent when the heart is in diastole, or when the cardiac muscle is in their resting condition, or the resting membrane potential. Okay, so this is the baseline. Now, in the QRS complex, the initial or first negative wave, it should be Q. If the wave is small, then it is a small q, or if it is big, then it will be expressed in capital Q. And the first positive deflection in the QRS complex, it will be R wave. Okay. In case of low voltage, it should be expressed in a smaller, and in case of high voltage, it will be expressed in capital R. Then after R wave, any negative deflection, that should be S wave. Okay. Then if there is any second positive deflection within the complex, that will be expressed as R prime. Okay, R prime. And after the R prime, any negative deflection, that should be called S prime. Is it clear? So here you can see the different morphological characteristics of the QRS complex. Here you can see the first small negative deflection, it is called Q, followed by a upward deflection. You know, the first positive deflection, it should be R. Okay, so this is called QR pattern. Okay, so in the second picture, there is actually only one negative deflection, so it is called QS pattern. Okay, now the another pattern, the initial negative, that is called Q, followed by a positive, that is R, and again negative, that is S. It is called QRS pattern. But capital Q, capital R, and a small s. Okay, and then there is a small negative deflection, so it is a small q. The big upward deflection, that will be represented by capital R, and a small negative deflection that will be called small s wave, so QRS. Again, the first negative deflection, it is capital Q as the deflection is big, followed by a little or small upward deflection, it is R. So it is called QR pattern. Okay, similarly, this is the RS pattern. This is a small R, capital S pattern. This is initially a small upward deflection, that is a smaller, then a big negative deflection, that is capital S. And then again, the second positive deflection in the QRS, that is called R prime. And as it's the deflection is small, so it is a small R, okay? Similarly, this is RS R prime pattern. This is RS R prime. Okay, I think you understand. So these are the different pattern, QS R pattern. Okay, so if there is only one wave, though it is a QRS complex, but it is actually produced by one wave, R wave. So it is R pattern. So this is QR. Then this is RS pattern. This is R prime pattern. This is QRS pattern, QRS R prime pattern. Is it okay? Now I want to mention another wave called the U wave. U wave actually follows the T wave, and it is caused by repolarization of the papillary muscle, most clearly visible in the anterior chest lead V2 to V3. And U wave are more commonly seen when the patient are bradycardic. Okay, and in case of hypokalemia, it is an important sign. There will be a prominent U wave. Okay, so here you can see the U wave that is actually followed by T wave. Okay, the next thing I want to mention, it is the current of injury. Current of injury. So actually when there is ischemia or ischemic tissue, so in the injured region, myocardial cell partially depolarized to a lower resting membrane potentials. Okay. So what will happen? This occurs due to decreased potassium gradient . This occurs due to decreased gradient of potassium ion concentration. Okay. Now, normally during the TP interval means now the heart is in diastole or is at resting condition or at its resting membrane potential. So TP segment, by this time you all of you are known that it is the interval between the completion of the T wave and the onset of the P wave. So during this time, the myocardial cells remain in their resting membrane potential. Okay. So in case of normal cardiac muscle, the RMP is minus 90 millivolt. But in case of infarcted tissue, I have already told you the infarcted tissue is partially depolarized. So even the heart is in diastole or in the resting condition, there is a dipole is present during the TP interval, because the infarcted tissue is partially depolarized in comparison to surrounding tissue. Say in the surrounding healthy tissue, the RMP is minus 90 millivolt, but in case of infarcted tissue, as it is a partially depolarized, say it is minus 50 millivolt. So what will happen? It is relatively remain in depolarized. So there is a charge difference even in this resting condition, and that will causes a flow of current from the infarcted tissue to the surrounding tissue. Okay, and that will actually basically that will elevate the TP segment, as at the resting condition this in tissues infarcted tissue remain partially depolarized. However, no dipole is present during the ST segment, as depolarization is complete and uniform in both normal and ischemic tissue. So thus, ST segment may be recorded as either positive or negative wave. The ST segment changes provide major clue for the diagnosis of cardiac ischemic injury. So as the during ST segment, you know, it is produced by the plateau phase of the cardiac muscle action potential when the ventricle is fully depolarized, but there is a sustained depolarization due to the influx of calcium ion that is counterbalanced by the potassium efflux. So there will be a no net movement of current during this period. So ST segment remain isoelectric. But as the TP segment has shifted downwards or upwards, okay, this ST segment may be expressed as ST elevation or ST depression. When the TP or baseline is shifted downwards, the ST segment, it will be expressed as ST elevation. So when the TP segment is shifted upward, the ST segment, it will be expressed as ST depression. So this is the physiological basis of ECG changes in infarction. This one thing, that is very important. The current flows from the infarcted area to the surrounding area and also towards the electrode placed on the infarcted area. Okay, and delayed depolarization of the infarcted cell. Infarcted cells, they are slow to depolarize. So here is the infarcted muscle fiber depolarized very slowly in comparison to the surrounding normal fibers. This makes the infarcted tissue to be relatively positive to the normal surrounding tissue, especially in the early part of the repolarization, and causes the ST segment elevation. This point I have already explained. Now, for better understanding, you can see here. Say this is a subendocardial infarction. So what will happens? I have already told you. Say even the heart is at diastole. Okay. So still, as this I have told you, this infarcted tissue remain partially depolarized in comparison to the surrounding tissue. So that will cause a net movement of current from infarcted area to the surrounding healthy tissue. So even in the resting condition, this injury current will be recorded by the adjacent lead. So this TP segment, it will be recorded or it will be shifted upward in the ECG paper on the adjacent lead. Okay, so what will happen? Now the depolarization, when the depolarization complete, now this is the J point and followed by ST segment. So in comparison to TP segment, you can see here, now this ST segment is expressed as ST depression. Okay. So here you, for the better understanding, so this is the old zero line or baseline, but when there is infarction in the subendocardial area, there will be this baseline is shifted upwards. So this is called TP segment. Now the ventricular depolarization completed, the ST segment remain in the same area. But in comparison to TP, as the TP segment is shifted upward, now the ST segment, it is expressed as ST depression. So in case of subendocardial ischemia or subendocardial infarction, you will find ST depression in the ECG. And there will be a different picture if there is a transmural infarction that involve the entire thickness. So what will happen this time, from when at the resting condition, when the heart is at diastole, still this infarcted tissue, as it is partially depolarized, then in comparison to surrounding tissue, so there will be a movement of current from infarcted tissue to the surrounding tissue. And if the lead, this red is lead is recording this TP segment as the current moves away from the electrode. So this TP segment should be shifted downwards. Okay. So now when the depolarizing current that depolarize the whole heart, that will causes the QRS complex. And now you can see here, as the TP segment is shifted downwards, so ST segment, it is expressed as ST elevation. So in case of transmural infarction, you will find the ST elevation, and you will also find the ST depression in the reciprocal leads. Now for the interpretation of the ECG, first you should know the calibration of the ECG paper. For that, actually the ECG paper shows the small and large squares, and one small square height is 1 millimeter and horizontally it is expressed in time. So one small square is equal 0.04 second, and one big square height, it is actually equal to 5 small square. So height is 5 millimeter, and the horizontally the time is 0.04 into 5, that means 0.2 second. That means 0.2 second is equal to 5 millimeter. So 1 second is equal to 25 millimeters, and that is the recording speed of the ECG, 25 millimeter per second. Or if you want to express in minute, then it will be 1500 millimeter per minute. Okay. And this is the standardization of the ECG. Actually, 10 millimeter height or 10 small square is equal 1 millivolt. This is called normally, this is the commonly used standardization. Okay, but you can use the half strength, where the 5 millimeter, okay, and double strength is 20 millimeter, and the recording speed is 25 millimeter per second. Now, the criteria of low voltage tracing. In the standard limb lead, if the QRS complex voltage is less than 5 millimeter, okay, that actually this is the mainly R wave. This is called low voltage. Or chest lead, if the QRS complex voltage or R wave voltage is less than 10 millimeter, it will be termed as low voltage tracing. And for the calculation of the heart rate, you know that 0.04 second is equal 1 small square. So 0.02 second is equal 5 small square or 1 large square. So 1 second is equal 25 small square or 5 large square. Okay. So in 1 minute, if 1 second is equal 25 small square, so 1 minute is equal 25 into 60, that is 1500 small square. Or if you want to consider larger square, then 1 minute is equal, so 5 into 60, that is 300 large square. Now if the rhythm is regular, then you can calculate the heart rate very easily. So the equation is 300 divided by large square in between the successive R wave or successive P wave. Okay. So if the number of large square in between the two successive R wave 5, so the heart rate will be 60. The problem, when the rhythm is irregular, then you have to count the number of QRS complexes in the 50 large squares, and length of the rhythm strip on a standard ECG. This is the number of QRS complex in 10 seconds. Okay. So 50, that means if the one large square is 0.2, so 50 large square, that means 10 seconds. So to work out the rate per minute, simply multiply by 6, then you will get the result, the heart rate in 1 minute. Say the number of QRS complex in the 50 large square, it is 19. So therefore the number of QRS complex is 10 seconds. It is 19. And now you can get the result by multiplying this 19 with 6. Okay, so you will get the result in 1 minute or 60 seconds. So that is 114. So here I have shown two tracing. The first one is the rhythm is regular. So you can just calculate the heart rate by counting the number of large square in between the successive R wave, and you have to divide 300 by the number of large square in between the two successive R wave. And what the second picture, this is the rhythm is irregular. So we have to count first that how much R wave is present in the 50 large square. Okay, say it is 19. So there is a 19 R wave. So you have to multiply with 6. 19 into 6, that is 114. Okay, so thank you very much.